Hello and welcome to Don't Bury the Lead. We recap WWE SmackDown every Friday night after the bell. But we have a special show tonight for our WWE Money in the Bank. My name is John Zindel. This is Dom Scarcella. Dom, go ahead and tell the people about yourself.
Watching this Money in the Bank pay-per-view, I thought these are the first fruits of the Backlash pay-per-view that we saw just about 2 months ago. We'll get into that and how it played into several of the matches we saw here. But hey, enough jibber jabbering and teasing. Don't bury the lead. John, what's our top story from WWE Money in the Bank live from London, England on July 1st, 2023?
Yeah, the top story is the main event. Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa faced off against the Uso brothers, and the Usos pinned Roman Reigns in a pretty long match here. That was the main event, and a match I liked a lot. Dom, what did you think of this one?
They gave this match 32 minutes from bell to bell, which was longer than any other two singles or tag team matches combined. So
Yeah.
this was clearly given the main event stature
Mhm.
on the card. It was not only on last, they also let them have all this time. And furthermore, everything else on this card seemed pretty fast paced.
Yeah.
This match built slowly, but
Mhm.
in the end, we get, I don't know how much of a surprise this is, but Baron Corbin is no longer the answer to the trivia question of who is the last wrestler to pin Roman Reigns.
Right.
We've got a new answer. It's Jey Uso. Main event Jey Uso coming off the top turnbuckle with a splash, pins Roman Reigns. Not Solo Sikoa, because we saw that when Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens faced Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa, that it was Solo who took the pinfall in that match. No, they didn't pin Solo. They pinned Roman. And I alluded to this being the first first fruits of the Backlash pay-per-view. It was at that Backlash pay-per-view where we saw crystal clear for the first time the rift between Solo Sikoa and his brothers Jimmy and Jey Uso. They went over in a six-man tag against Sammy, Kevin, and Matt Riddle, but there was definitely tension there. It was clearly visible on screen as Solo kind of disobeyed his older brothers towards the end of that match. And they went off the air with these guys not on the same page. And they built that over the last 2 months. This is what it culminates in.
Mhm.
Roman and Solo, it's not only a bloodline civil war, it's the House of Rikishi's civil war here. Rikishi, three of Rikishi's sons, they're split here.
Yes. So, just a real side note here. I'm having all this work done in my house, so I only have like this thing of coffee. So I'll be drinking out of this thing of coffee, like a pitcher of coffee here. So bear with me.
That looks magnificent. That is hardcore right there. That looks like you mean it.
Right. You
Yeah,
know, sorry, just had to. I wanted to throw
that's fine. When you drink straight from the pitcher, that's a pay-per-view quality beverage container right there.
right. So, for me, from my perspective, when I really like this match a lot. I like the slow building stuff. The storyline continues to be awesome, and I liked. It's like it's amazing to me that just a guy getting pinned for Roman Reigns, he didn't lose a title. He
Yep.
just got pinned in a
Yep.
tag match, which was just a grudge match, and just that is the biggest story. So that just shows you what kind of level he's currently on. I don't think
Mhm.
I would have ever cared as anybody else. There's so much 50-50 booking in the WWE from time to time, right? Like
Mhm.
you'll see guys win, you see guys lose, but they kind of go back and forth. But he's been so dominant that just seeing him get pinned in a tag match is like, whoa, you know? So they've done
This
a
is the
great job.
biggest storyline in the company, right? This you alluded to. You wouldn't care about this as much if it were just any other regular tag match. This was not a regular tag match, was it?
No, no. Certainly not. And they did a great job with it. I liked all the slow stuff. I like Solo Sokoa and Roman Reigns as a tag team, honestly.
You do? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that tag team.
What
They
stands out to you about them? Because Solo's still a fairly young performer on the main roster. He's been there about a year.
it's one of these tag teams that they're two clearly different workers and two very different, but they gel well.
Okay.
That's the best way to describe it. Like a lot of guys are like, they'll have like the Uso brothers. They kind of do the same thing, when they're in the ring. They do a
Okay.
lot of the same stuff, although they're great. But I like when they have a different style or a clash, and you have the two different options. So you have different options when they tag in. You can like wrestle different types of matches.
You can. That's a good point. The Usos work. The Usos complement each other because they're pretty much interchangeable.
Hmm.
Roman and Solo complement each other because, from a character standpoint, Roman gives the commands and Solo follows the commands. So far, at least.
Yeah, that is that dynamic too, where you have the Superman in Roman Reigns, and like this guy's just he won't lose, and then you have Solo, who's like they're grooming to be like the next guy. So
If I may mix comic metaphors, it's Superman and Robin.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, I guess he's more Batman, right? Uh, yes, it is Superman and Robin. Um, yeah, so
Anything move wise from this match stand out to you, or spot wise that may not have been a wrestling move, but maybe spot from the crowd or from the slow build?
you know
Because
we
this crowd in England, they do a lot of chanting.
we talked about this backstage actually. Um, this crowd was hot, but unlike Puerto Rico and Montreal, they were kind of weird. Like
Mhm.
that's the only way I can describe it. They were they were singing a song. I had no idea what the song was. I couldn't figure it out during the entire main event. Are they like, would anything that's going on, they were just kind of singing and chanting the whole time, but like it didn't necessarily seem to matter what was going on at times.
Seemed like a lot of it was anti-Roman, and he reacted early to the crowd,
Yeah.
which was good. So he heard it and he went with it. But yes, the London crowd does a lot of sing-songy taunting of people. It's upper crust ways to taunt people. Make a jingle out of it.
Right.
There was something about Roman sucks. That was an easy one to pick out. Roman sucks. Roman sucks. The three beat staccato. But there were other ones that, like you're saying, I couldn't quite figure out what they were saying from the audio. Some of them had swear words that I figured out. But others, yeah, it seemed like this crowd. I don't want to say it was coordinated, but this was a crowd that wanted to be part of the show.
Oh yeah, for sure. They
That that
were.
that seems to be an England thing, right? That
Mhm,
rarely do US crowds get quite like that anymore, at least not since maybe the ECW days or the
mhm,
Smart Mark days 20 years ago in the wreckage of the Monday Night Wars.
yeah. Um. Oh yeah. They were hot all night, and it was a little confusing because I didn't know what they were chanting. But um, again, this is our third non-US crowd
In a row.
who in a row. And let me tell you, the non-US crowds show up and
Yep.
are crazy. Puerto Rico was amazing. Um, I think Puerto Rico was probably my favorite.
Mhm.
Montreal was amazing. And
4
that,
out of 5 if you count Montreal,
yeah,
because that was right before WrestleMania.
yeah, that's
They
true.
went Montreal, they went out of the mainland US to Puerto Rico, they went to Saudi Arabia, which
Okay,
was a
yeah,
surprisingly fun crowd.
yeah,
Now
right.
it helped that Mustafa Ali was there, even though he got pretty
And
much
Sami
squashed,
Zayn.
and Sami Zayn was there. And then tonight in London,
Yeah. So I thought it was a good match. And anything else you want to talk about here with the lead?
some of the spots, I mean, they teased early that maybe Roman was going to go down. The Usos did hit a 1D on Roman and covered him. But
Okay.
of course, there was no ref because you'll never believe this, John. In a Roman Reigns match, there was a ref bump. Now, do you know what a ref bump is, John?
I'm familiar. I'm only because I've watched all the Roman Reigns matches.
Oh, okay, very good. So you've seen this before.
I've seen this before. Yeah.
But a good twist on it this time because the ref bump in the end does not mean that Roman and Solo win the match or anything. Um, Roman winds up getting pinned there. Let's see. The way they some of the dynamic between Roman and Solo late in this match, um, after everybody is pounding on each other and the ref recovers. Um, Solo stacks Jimmy on top of Jay, and Roman covers both of them. Did you like that? Just trying to insult them,
Yes. Hilarious.
but they both kick out at 2.5. So maybe he shouldn't have gone for the double pin. But Roman looked flabbergasted. That was after spikes by Solo and then a weird little double spike on Jay while he gets speared. But
Yeah.
then, Roman just looks flabbergasted and he doesn't move for several moments. He's seated on the mat. And even Paul Heyman on the outside looks like he's almost in tears. They got that into the camera shot that we saw on TV. But it's Solo who gets his wits about him first and really starts, knocking Roman Reigns out of his daze there. A little bit of leadership shown by Solo there. It was Solo who started pounding on Jay, then on Jimmy. Roman gets back into him. Eventually, he takes Jimmy outside, and Solo has Jimmy laid out on the announce table. And they hadn't done really a huge break the announce table spot yet. So they saved that for this match. And sure enough, Solo climbs up to the barricade, and Roman is now turns his attention to Solo and goes destroy him. So here's that, commander and, commanded going again. Like Roman gives the okay. Yes, do it. So Solo goes up to splash Jimmy on the announce table. Jimmy rolls out of the way. Solo goes crashing through the announce table. And this was, for me, symptomatic of a lot of things they did in this match. Fantastic timing.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these spots, and we call them out when we see them, or sometimes we don't always call them out because we just say, oh, well, that's pro wrestling. Sometimes the timing is off on these spots.
Yeah.
The timing on this spot was perfect. Jimmy rolls out at exactly the perfect time. Solo hits this announce table and crumbles it like Chris Farley doing the Van Down the River guy.
The SNL
Just
skit.
destroying somebody's coffee table.
Right.
I am Matt Foley. I live in a van down by the river. This announce table crashes like it's Matt Foley. But that wasn't the first time they did this. I noted a few other spots that were really fantastic. We just talked about one where Solo spikes Jay while Roman spears him. What perfect timing on that spot. Absolutely perfect timing. And again, it's Solo involved in it. Solo involved in it. There was another spot earlier. It's the only other one I want to mention. It was Roman making a blind tag as Jay tosses Solo outside. Jay clotheslines Roman out of the ring. So now Jay does, and sorry, John, I'm going to talk up this spot. Jay does a dive on Roman. Then goes and hits a dive on Solo, who's out of the ring on the opposite side. Then he tries one more dive on Roman, but Roman catches him with that modified Superman punch on the outside. It's not the same angle as a Superman punch would be. That's basically he clocks Jay as Jay's coming through the top and middle rope there. Back in the ring, Roman sets up for a spear, but Jimmy recovers, tags himself in, and the Usos wind up double spearing Roman to counter his spear attempt. Jimmy covers Roman, and Solo barely, and I mean barely, breaks up the pinfall after he's been dived on the outside. Solo Sikoa, for a wrestler who's been doing this basically for a year, they give him the 3 toughest spots in this main event match from a timing perspective. I don't mean from just maybe a physical perspective of executing a move or a build, but just from a pure timing perspective, these 3 spots, that breakup after he had been dived on the floor, then that spike into the spear simultaneously, and then that splash onto the announce table. Yes, other guys are involved in it, but the common thread is Solo. What a performance by Solo Sikoa just on those timing spots alone. So he has earned his main event stature here alongside the other members of the bloodline, as far as his understanding of how to be a pro wrestler and what it means to hit big spots in big matches and make it, for lack of a better word, believable.
Right. Yep. Hey, in our grading video, I had him at a B.
Yeah, you had him as he was one of our C's that we were saying who could be a B if they show us a little more, B or higher, and you jumped right on Solo Sikoa.
Yeah,
that he's a guy who, if we see more of him, and it's been 6 months. It's been 6 months since we did that grading video. Solo Sikoa has shown us a lot more, hasn't he?
Yeah, for sure. Maybe we'll have to do another one since we're 6 months away.
Yeah, one of these days. Yeah.
Great. Okay, cool. Well, that was the main event. Of course, we can transition here. The title of the pay-per-view is Money in the Bank.
Money in the Bank.
So they traditionally had one specialty match, but now they have 2 specialty matches where there's a ladder in the ring. You climb the ladder and you get the Money in the Bank, and you can cash in this briefcase whenever you want to get a title shot at whatever title you want. It has traditionally been like, this is the next guy, or this isn't the guy and he can't cash it in. It's usually he's the next guy, but there's been instances. I think Otis won it one year and he couldn't cash it in.
Okay.
Baron Corbin, he won it one year and he couldn't cash it in, but definitely Baron was not title worthy. And then Otis at the time was kind of just a comedy act.
Mm-hmm.
But he ended up, not being able to cash it in. But, we have our men.
Well, let's take that tack as we go through each of these matches. As we go through who the winner is, you tell us, is this a person who you see more as, yeah, this guy's ready to take the next step to the upper echelon of titles? Or is this someone you see being closer to comedy spot where that's not going to work?
Right.
So which one do you want to go through first? The men's Money in the Bank or the women's Money in the Bank?
Let's go with the men's because that opened the show. So we'll just do it.
Yes. What a great opener, right?
Yeah, the men's. Yeah, they weren't.
Hey, don't bury the lead. It's Money in the Bank. They call it Money in the Bank. Let's start with the Money in the Bank.
Yeah, and I think the men's Money in the Bank delivered. And we have Damian Priest winning the Money in the Bank. Mm-hmm. And from my perspective, I think it was a two horse race kind of with Damian Priest and LA Knight. You had some potential where Logan Paul could have won it.
Mhm.
And you saw some people were kind of fantasy booking it, but I don't think you could do it with a guy that's not full time. And
Right.
he might not. I don't think he's ready, but that's another discussion. But yeah. So Damian Priest wins it. Dom, what did you think of this?
Once again, the first fruits of Backlash. I said when we reviewed Backlash that Damian Priest is a star right now because of what he did in that match against Bad Bunny. And to me, this seems to be that coming to fruition. He's now ready to make the leap. You mentioned LA Knight. It seemed like there were two guys in this match who were ready for the leap, wasn't it? Like LA Knight and Damian Priest. Now, LA Knight, I could see them slow playing that hand because the crowd is gradually turning him babyface, maybe to the displeasure of what Creative had in mind months ago. But
Right,
Creative sort of adjusting here, but they're still slow playing it, which seems to be the babyface plan in WWE. Like they've slow played Cody Rhodes. They got him a build to the WrestleMania match, but they didn't put the belt on him.
man.
And now they're still doing it,
Have
right?
they ever slow played Cody Rhodes? I don't
They're
know
sl-
how much more you could slow play it here.
and they kind of slow played Sami Zayn. Like they didn't put the belt on him when he finally got his title match. He even after that at Elimination Chamber, his title match, he still lost to Solo Sikoa 1-on-1. So they slow played that. So if LA Knight is going to be a babyface, they're slow playing it. They're building him more. Damian Priest, though, he's been around for a while. He was a former second tier champion. It was either U.S. title or Intercontinental title. I'm not getting it off the top of my head.
I think it's the
He's been
U.S.
in
champ.
Judgment Day for a while. Which one was it?
The U.S. champ.
It was a U.S. champ. So he's been on people's minds for a while. He's in the Judgment Day, which has been trending upward the last 6 to 8 months. So Damian Priest is ready. And, if you had any doubts about that, go back and watch the Backlash match against Bad Bunny. Damian Priest is a star. He lost that match to Bad Bunny, by the way, but he's a star. He's ready. So I was rooting for LA Knight because I just want to see where this goes. That to me is a really interesting story. But Damian Priest is a star. Damian Priest is ready. If you're looking for the Money in the Bank winner to be the guy who's taking the next step rather than somebody who's going to be a comedy spot, then I can't argue with them saying Damian Priest is ready, and let's see where he goes over the next up to 12 months with this Money in the Bank. He's got the contract, right? That's the gimmick. There's a contract. There's an open contract for any title in the WWE inside that briefcase. So when you retrieve the briefcase, basically you own that contract.
And Dom, I'll tell you what. I'm cool with Damian Priest winning it. And I would say champion. I don't think he's going to be. I don't think he would be a guy that would not be able to cash in. I think when he
Okay,
does, he will. And you mentioned it too. That money with that match with Bad Bunny probably changed his career.
sure.
Um, because he was so over, and he put together a match with a guy who's like a hip hop artist and a
Yeah.
pop singer. Like he put together a really good match with him. And so, from my perspective, I'd say good guy to win it. I think he'll probably cash it in against Seth. I don't see him going after the big belts. I don't think he's there yet, but there's that weird belt that's floating around that Seth has. And, it feels like, the other belt, the number two
The
belt.
other belt, the World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah. So I think he will cash in there, and um, ultimately, I am a little disappointed though because we both were pulling for L.A. Knight. I'm a little
Sure.
disappointed that they didn't pull the trigger, but he probably was the most over guy during the match. Logan Paul maybe was number two. I did notice Logan Paul, man, he's getting some heat.
He
So
is.
I want to give him another shot. I gave him a harsh review during his WrestleMania match because I just didn't like it.
Okay.
But I want to give him another shot because he's getting the crowd reactions you kind of want. I am a little curious. Are these boos like go away heat or are they good heat? I'd be curious to see what you think about that. The boos that Logan is getting.
I don't know. Usually you judge go away heat versus real good boo heat based on the guy's performance. Like if a guy who's been kind of dropping the ball and slacking off gets booed, it's like get this guy off our TV, and you can sort of. I don't think Logan Paul has been dropping the ball though. I think he's been performing fairly decently. I've
I
seen
think
him a few times on pay-per-views. I mean, the matches ebb and flow. I mean, the WrestleMania one you were saying maybe wasn't his best. The October one in Saudi Arabia was good. He's had a few good appearances on the TV shows as well. Um, this match, I thought he did pretty well in. I think he's a great athlete and he seems to understand wrestling. Um, had he won the Money in the Bank contract, this would have been really interesting because he's a part-time guy. And I guess the tease would have been, Logan Paul could show up on any one of these SmackDowns or Raws. But at the same time, maybe that gets old after a while. So Logan Paul not committing to WWE full time yet maybe puts him. Maybe that's why he's getting booed as well, because maybe the audience is done with the teasing. Like, do you want to wrestle or not?
right.
Are
Maybe
you going to pay your dues or not, rather than just show up for the pay-per-view in the spotlight?
yeah. That's the only thing about him winning the Money in the Bank is because there's guys that are part timers like Brock Lesnar when he
Mm-hmm.
was a part timer and he had the champ, but he had been great for years before that, and he was fighting in UFC, so that was like a cool dynamic. But and a lot of people didn't like that. But this specifically, I don't. He's not ready. From my take is like he's wrestled Seth Rollins, but Seth Rollins is the best worker in the company, the second best worker in the company.
Yeah,
So
he's right up there.
so of course he had a good match with him. He's Seth Rollins. So I'd like to see him in there with maybe not such a great talent. Top Dollar, see what he could do with him. That'd
Oh
be
yeah, you could coax a good match out of that.
yeah,
We mentioned the London crowd before. London crowd in this one, good to see that they were not just doing the Homer stuff.
mm,
We couldn't always tell this because the Montreal crowd was hot for Sami Zayn, the hometown guy, but Sami Zayn was a baby face, so that kind of makes sense. The Saudi Arabia crowd was hot for Mustafa Ali and for Sami Zayn, but they were baby faces. The London crowd, Butch is a baby face. They were cheering Butch until he and LA Knight started slugging it out. Then it was cheers for LA Knight and boos when Butch would land a punch.
right,
That's an
right.
interesting dynamic. This happened one other time towards the end, not necessarily with LA Knight hit spots on a lot of different people. When he hit a spot on Butch, like the crowd cheered. So LA Knight was the baby face in this match, and he almost wins it, doesn't it?
Yeah, they teased him winning it, and I was like, "Go, go, go!" But I was pulling for him. But one
There was
spot,
a good spot on top of the ladder, right, with him and Butch near the end. LA's the only guy in the ring, but he's down. Butch crawls into the ring, and LA Knight and Butch climb opposite sides of the big ladder that's set up. LA, that's where they have another one of their trading punches where the crowd's going, yeah, for LA Knight and
mhm,
boo when Butch hits. LA
mm,
gets a front face lock on Butch. Butch starts bending LA Knight's fingers. The joint manipulation. Good spot, and LA Knight falls off near top of the ladder. Big bump there.
yeah,
Then it looks like Butch is going to win it, which would have been given the hometown guy the case. But Damian Priest rushed into the ring and up the ladder, and they battled that. And so that's not going to work.
mhm,
Um, Then it's Damian Priest and LA Knight battling because now Damian Priest is the only one left on the ladder. LA Knight grabs his foot. The crowd pops. Anytime LA Knight did anything, the crowd popped. Eventually, it comes down to basically Damian Priest and LA Knight. One final climb up the ladder after a few other guys got their shots in. Santos Escobar, Shinsuke Nakamura. So they're both on top of the ladder here. They trade strikes until Damian Priest does what looks like they tried to say from the announce table it was his broken arrow slam from the top. I don't know how you can actually do that from the top from a ladder. But it was basically LA Knight reaching for the briefcase and Damian Priest reaching for LA Knight's throat. It looks like LA Knight's all by himself on the top of the ladder, and here comes this arm. Here comes this arm and this big meat hook of a hand around LA Knight's throat. So that was a good visual. So I like how they used the ladder and built the suspense. Right?
Yeah. So some of the spots in the match. So I typically don't like the dives as much as
Sure.
I've been documented to say. However, I like when they're placed correctly,
Okay.
and they're not just dive commercial break randomly in the middle of a match. And I felt like all the dives were cool. And I'm okay. And when you have a 7-man ladder match, that's when I want to see the dives. Okay, now we can do our dives, right? Now we don't do them every match. Every person has their dive every match. No, like let's save these things up, and then they're more impactful. Ricochet had an awesome one.
Okay. Yeah.
So he did an awesome dive to the outside, and he's always got one of those highlight reel moves in those matches. Like he'll always be on WWE's roster as long as in the pay-per-views, if there's a Royal Rumble or the ladder matches, like he's got one spot that's going to be nuts.
And it was unexpected, his dive here, because there was a ladder set up near the ropes on the side where 3 other wrestlers had spilled out. The ladder was propped up in its A-frame position. Ricochet and LA Knight are engaged in the ring, and this is the double whammy for you. It's an Irish whip into a dive, but it was so well executed, wasn't it? LA Knight throws Ricochet into the ropes and goes to clothesline him. Ricochet ducks the clothesline and just continues his momentum towards the ladder, dives through the ladder, through the ropes onto 3 wrestlers on the floor. And that was something like you weren't expecting a dive there, but you got it. And maybe it was a little bit of the unexpectedness of it that made you go, oh, wow. And, of course, he's diving through the ladder. So, hey,
Yeah.
use the prop while you got it. So, yeah. What a good one. And it was a little different, wasn't it? It wasn't same old, let's go to commercial.
Right. So I like the dives during this match. I thought it was pretty good, fun stuff. These are fun matches, Money in the Bank. They're ladder matches. They're supposed to be goofy, right? It's a 7-man ladder match. You're going to see a bunch of stuff.
Butch moonsaulting off the ladder onto the floor to hit every other opponent except Logan Paul. Right?
Yes.
A spot like that because he's using the ladder.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense that you would try a high-risk move to incapacitate everybody because it's not a pinfall or submission match. It's kind of a last man standing match with a ladder climb added to it.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes more sense there, and it was fun to see. Any other spots that you really liked from this match? Because we've gone over that we like Damian Priest winning. We think he's ready to take that next step to maybe the upper echelon here. Any other notables from this match?
No, I think that's really it.
Did anyone look weak in this match? Do you think anybody got buried?
Not particularly. So, moving on here. Let's move on to the women's ladder match. And this one was a surprise, I'd have to say.
Okay.
Io Sky wins the women's Money in the Bank.
She
Um,
does.
Io, maybe a little bit like Damian Priest, had a great showing in Puerto Rico. And man, to think of where she was when we first started watching to where she is now, she's really climbed the ranks here. And now she wins Money in the Bank. Dom, what did you think of this match?
You know, I said the first fruits of Backlash. We saw Io Sky versus Bianca Belair at Backlash. And it was a tremendous match. I mean, it wasn't quite as good as Bianca Asuka at WrestleMania, but just
Mhm.
because that's a WrestleMania match, they give them more time. It just seems like a grander stage. But Io was impressive, and she was getting cheered. The Puerto Rico crowd loved her semi luchador style that's kind of borrowed from Japan, which is, you know, she's a Japanese wrestler from Japan.
Mhm.
Um, she's ready, right? She's over whatever you had mentioned up that the wrestlers in Damage Control were in there for a reason, something behind the scenes.
Yeah, yeah.
Has she gotten out of that doghouse now?
Yeah, I think they were in some sort of a doghouse here, but yeah, I was trying to look that up earlier, but I didn't find much on it. But yeah, so from my perspective here, Damage Control is a group that came in, and you had high marks for them early on in SmackDown. So
Yep.
kudos to you for kind of picking up on, hey, they got something with these people here. And to see it now, her get to the level where she's at, I would not have guessed. I mean, I thought she might be like maybe just a bottom card person there for a while that's kind of lost in this group. But yeah, it's cool that
Well, because she struggles on the mic. She's not a native English speaker. And
yeah.
Bailey has been trying to bring her along, doing these tandem promos where Io Sky doesn't have to say much, but she gets a chance to say something and show that she can speak and can address people and can be involved in angles, right? So this
Mhm.
is we talked about that before, but you know Bailey's doing excellent work not only in the ring but really bringing along Io Sky, and so Io Sky winning here. Is she winning because you think she's next level ready, or is this going to be now that there's no way she's believable cashing in this Money in the Bank contract on a title holder?
Wow.
Is she believable? She believable?
I don't see her having a title.
You
Uh,
don't a singles title?
no, I,
Okay,
I think I don't think she's quite there yet. I
okay.
don't, I think it's cool that she won Money in the Bank. I'm surprised that she did. Um, the fact that she can't speak English is kind of a detriment unless they could find someone that could help her out with it. And I don't think
Asuka's having trouble. Asuka's in the same boat, but Asuka's maybe a little more known to WWE
But
audience.
Asuka's just loaded with charisma, though.
She is.
She's loaded with charisma. She doesn't have to speak English. She's loaded with
Yep.
charisma, and she's probably the best female worker on the roster. So
Yeah.
I just
Okay.
don't necessarily see that from Io, but I could be wrong. Maybe the next couple months here, we see her have some good matches. But
Okay. Well, then let's go with that. The finish of this match. Do you think Io shows some of that charisma and some of that ingenuity, you know, because she's a wonderful performer as far as doing innovative offensive moves, the high flyer, those kind of things, but also quick enough to do mat wrestling. This match ends with they brought handcuffs into this match earlier, Trish Stratus and Zoe Stark for Becky Lynch, but they didn't manage to handcuff Becky to the bottom rope as they had wanted to just to get her out of the match. They just got the handcuff around Becky's wrist. So now Becky's wrestling the rest of the match with handcuffs half on. This plays into the finish of this match. She and Bailey are reaching for each other through the ladder as they're each trying to climb it. Io Sky sees this, runs over, and now handcuffs Becky to Bailey through rungs of the ladder so they can no longer ascend the ladder. Isn't that fantastic?
it's a great spot,
Like
and
they're out of the mat. What a great spot. And the look on Io Sky's face as she's doing it. And
mhm.
they're zooming in on it, hard camera side, right on Io. and she's doing it. Then she climbs over Bailey to get up the ladder. Sits on top. Becky can't quite pull her down from the foot. And Io Sky retrieves the briefcase with the contract in it.
That was a cool
Did she
spot.
show some charisma there that in this match and then building to that?
Yeah, I mean, it was a great moment for her, obviously. And I think that Puerto Rico match has started something here where she's kind of climbing here. Um, you know, but from my perspective, if I'm going to really pick, do I see her cashing in and making it work? I don't know, but I will say this: of the people that were wrestling, I was really happy to see her have it, because
Okay.
a lot of the people that were wrestling, it's just going to be like a retread, like Becky Lynch. She's been their champ. She's been around.
Mhm.
It's been like years and years and years where she's been at the top. So I just didn't want to see it. I didn't need to see another Becky Lynch run. I wanted somebody new, and
Okay.
I was
So
happy.
Becky and Trish maybe would have been out for you. Zoe Stark seems a little too new. She just got called up to the main roster with the recent draft. So she was maybe too new. Zelina Vega,
Um,
fun in the ring, but doesn't seem like she's title belt
exactly.
level.
Although I was kind of thinking she might win it because she's been over, and that maybe they would
She
do
has.
something with the Elder. I mean, like I wouldn't have a problem with her winning it. Maybe it was her and Io, and they just flipped the coin.
Okay.
Both of them were kind of in the same realm for me, Io and Zelina.
Okay. I see Io as more believable as a fighter.
She's probably a better worker, Io.
Better worker. Let's we talk about wrestlers, and there's legends about like Roddy Piper and William Regal, wrestling in carnivals or whatever when they're teenagers. Io Sky is 33 years old. She's been wrestling professionally almost half her life.
Yeah.
2 months shy of her 17th birthday. As a 16-year-old, she makes her debut in Japan.
Now you're talking me into her, because now she does have that longevity, and I know she was a champ in Japan. So if she's been a good champion somewhere, then oftentimes that can be duplicated. You see that with like AJ Styles. He was a TNA champion and then the New
Mhm.
Japan champion. So when he came to the WWE, it made sense to put the title on him because he's good.
She debuts for All Japan Pro Wrestling at age 18.
Mm.
So she's been paying her dues for a long time and working her way through large national promotions, both in Japan and the US now. So wait, our questions about Io Sky have to do with her character, and not like moral virtue character, her on-screen character, her persona, and not with whether or not she's ready as a wrestler, right?
Yeah.
She's ready physically as an in-ring performer. It's a question is she ready as a persona, because that's what you are when you have the belt.
Right. Um, yeah, we'll have to see here.
Yeah,
Um,
and the great thing about Money in the Bank is that this gimmick lasts for an entire year. You don't have to cash in your contract right now, next week, next pay-per-view. So there's time for it to build. But when you get the Money in the Bank contract, the briefcase there as a non-joke, it's basically a nod to your potential.
yes.
So at
Oh,
least we
yeah.
know she's got legit potential. Whether or not that becomes actual over the next several months, we'll see. But putting putting this status on her, this stature on her, to me feels legit because of the kind of worker she is, and because she's been putting in the effort to become more of a persona, more of a wrestling character.
Yeah. I did see her do a shoot promo that was kind of funny.
Okay,
Um, but
in English or Japanese with subtitles?
English. Uh,
Really? Okay.
yeah, it's funny because they asked, "What does Bailey like to do?" And she said she drinks. She's like,
Ha!
"Drinks." And they're like, no, like whoever was with her was like, don't say that. But like she didn't mean like. I guess she just went for it. She's like, yeah, she drinks too much.
Hey, Bailey was one of the 4 horsewomen back in NXT, so we'll harken that back to the 4 horsemen from the NWA and WCW days. It was basically Ric Flair and Ric Flair's drinking buddies.
Right.
So there's somewhat of the lineage that goes along with that moniker there. She was one of the 4 horsewomen, so not surprised to learn that Bailey can maybe throw him back and hold her liquor.
Right. So yeah. So
allegedly, according to EO Sky in a shoot interview.
Yes, I'll have to send you that clip.
We have no firsthand knowledge of Bailey's imbibing habits.
Right. So moving on here. So we got through both of the ladder matches in the main event.
Which we like the outcomes of each of those.
Yeah.
Could have gone a different direction, but we're not disappointed.
Happy with both the people. I thought both the matches were entertaining. Money in the Bank's awesome. You can't go wrong with it.
Okay. So, my first time really watching this gimmick play out.
Oh yeah. What did you think of the overall gimmick?
The gimmick worked for what it was. You know, it's an endurance test to get this contract. It's not supposed to be a regular match. It's supposed to look like a lot of chaos that somehow becomes order at the end. So I like that. I like that it's got a lot of risk taking involved, because the whole idea of cashing in Money in the Bank contract is a risk that you're taking. So it fits for the match. I also like that the men's match and the women's match weren't too identical. You know, it's like, I just saw this an hour ago. No, you didn't. The women used the ladders and the gimmick of the match differently than the men did.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like, oh, I'm just seeing the women's version of the men's match. No, the women put on a different match an hour after the men. And I think it worked. I liked it. I don't think anybody was buried in either match, which is another good thing, because, you know, you don't want people to go into these matches and perform so badly that you're wondering, oh, this guy's pushes over.
Mm-hmm.
So I was pleasantly surprised by how well each match worked on its own. I thought the outcomes were good. Each one was kind of a mini surprise for me. I didn't think it was preordained going into it who would win, and I like the outcomes. I think it went to people who are deserving of it based on what they've shown, especially the last 2 months since Backlash. That both Damian Priest, who was a faction guy, and Io Sky, who was a tag team person and a faction person in the doghouse for a while. They showed us 2 months ago that they could have big time singles matches. And this is the reward that the office agrees. You have the potential, run with it.
Right. So moving on here.
Where to next?
You know, so I liked it. Well, let's go to the next match here, because I think it's got the most interest, probably the most interesting finish of the night.
Sure.
By interesting, I mean, what was that? We had Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan versus Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler.
Yep.
And that Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez win the match, but by one of the goofiest swerves I've seen in quite some time. Shayna Baszler turns on Ronda Rousey mid-match for no reason.
Yep.
And when she turns on her, she just starts beating the hell out of Ronda. And of course, when the tag teams are fighting each other, that's what causes the pinfall. And the tag teams titles are then dropped by Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. Tom, what did you think of this match?
This was an out of nowhere turn. It was so out of nowhere because we didn't see hints of it. They could have solved that with a better camera angle towards the end of this match. Liv is engaged in there with Shayna Baszler. Liv Morgan goes for oblivion on the ropes. Shayna counters with a German suplex and applies the sleeper. Liv gets back to a vertical base and breaks the hold with 2 drop-down chin breakers. And then a snapmare on the second one. And that second snapmare winds up propelling Shayna Baszler into her corner. We don't see the tag because of the camera angle. Had they had a camera zooming in on that corner for us, and we could have seen maybe the blind tag and maybe Shayna being pissed off, because there have been a couple times where Shayna's done like almost all the work and then Ronda makes the tag in to get the pinfall. Or, Shayna does all the work, Ronda makes the tag in to put on the arm bar, which is just a rubber stamp of the match.
Mm-hmm.
We don't get to see the tag and Shayna's reaction to it. Because maybe that would have been a reason for Shayna to turn, like just to get fed up with she's doing all the work and then Ronda Rousey, the glory hog, tags herself in. But it's after that blind tag that Shayna re-enters the ring and just attacks Ronda, puts her almost out with the sleeper, then leaves. And then, it becomes 2-on-1 for there, and Ronda Rousey eventually gets pinned. Liv tags in Raquel Rodriguez, who is also stunned by what she's watching. Raquel hits the Tejana bomb, tags in Liv. Liv hits Oblivion. There's your pinfall.
I'm happy with the outcome.
Okay.
Because I think Liv and Raquel had something going before the injury.
Right.
As far as tag teams are concerned. And so I'm happy for that. And I don't know. You sent me a match where Ronda actually worked pretty well. She's very sometimes she can go in the ring sometimes, but then sometimes she's awful. So
against Raquel Rodriguez, she wrestles well.
Right. Against everybody else, it's a shit show.
And maybe that's a credit to Raquel.
Yeah. I mean, it's a
that Ronda Rousey somehow feels comfortable wrestling Raquel for Raquel's agility, but also for her size and strength. Like maybe it's these real judo martial artists that like they get into a wrestling ring and it's in the back of their minds, I can't hurt the other wrestler. I can't hurt the other wrestler. I can't hurt the other wrestler. And maybe they're pulling their punches and pulling their kicks so much that it just looks slow and not believable. But then Raquel gets in there. Maybe they've talked about it. And Raquel maybe said to Ronda, look, I can take it. Hit me.
Yeah.
And if we have to do a move together, don't worry about it. I can support your body weight.
Right.
Maybe Ronda feels comfortable for that reason because she knows, okay, as long as I don't do something stupid, I'm not going to injure Raquel.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what.
How about Liv Morgan in this match? This is her first match back from an injury. They mentioned it was torn labrum and rotator cuff. I don't know how quickly those heal. Apparently, she's healed enough to get in the ring and wrestle. How'd she look to you? Did she look like the old Liv Morgan?
To be honest with you, the match was so fast, and what's really stuck in my brain is the ending. So, hey, they got me. I mean, I'm just like, what is this? And I'm just like, I wonder what people think of this bizarre swerve. But I guess it's just came so out of left field, not to bury Liv Morgan here, but the ending came so out of left field, and there's no build-up for it. Like, they've even had build-up for an eventual turn between Bayley and Io Sky. Like they've kind of like gone back and forth at each other. Like there's always like some animosity sometimes. They try, and that gives you a sign that there could be splitting. But no, this was no sign. They're like best friends forever, all the time. They're like love each other. And so
well, that's the reason for the turn here, which we can get into. But the Liv, I didn't think she looked like she had her timing. I didn't think she looked like her old self in this match. I think there's a little bit of ring rust there. There was one sequence where it really looked like her timing was there. And it was with Shayna Baszler, who she's a good worker.
Yeah, Shayna's good.
Shayna's a good worker, not just a good shoot fighter. She has transitioned to pro wrestling well. Liv escaped Shayna's attempt at an ankle lock, by pivoting to her feet and then hitting a really good-looking step-up enziguri kick to the side of the head. That was the best move she hit all match, and the only one to me that looked like the old Liv Morgan. So maybe it took her 7 minutes or so of wrestling to get in there.
We
But
both were
that
like,
match looked like the old Liv Morgan. That spot.
we both were like, man, she came back fast for being injured for real.
Yeah, for being injured enough that you're off TV.
And they stripped the title and everything, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, so I was like, oh, maybe she made, I don't know if she's back too fast and she's wrestling her or what the deal is. But yeah, so anyways.
On to Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey turned on Shayna Baszler because they're friends. According to, I read a WrestleZone report that just came out this weekend. So the fact that we're doing this a day or two after Money in the Bank is why I've got this information here. Ronda Rousey is setting up to leave the WWE either permanently or just for a long hiatus. And she doesn't want to drag it out to like next WrestleMania or whatever. She's given them, if you know the broadcasting term, a hard out. You know, like sometimes when you go to commercial break, you've got some leeway, but other times, like if it's the top of the hour and other shows, you've got a hard out. Like this is your deadline. You're done here. Ronda Rousey is apparently given the WWE a hard out that she's leaving. And before she left, she wanted to have a one-on-one feud with Shayna Baszler, essentially to put over Shayna Baszler, because Shayna has meant so much to Ronda in the pro wrestling sphere.
Interesting. That
Now,
makes sense.
unfortunately, like you're saying, you're right. They didn't have time to build to this. Part of it was the injury that maybe Ronda sustained that like put them behind for 2 months, and so they didn't have a good build to it. You know, it's analogous, not exact, obviously, but analogous to what happened with Cody Rhodes tearing his pec. And now it looked like they almost rushed him when they made him win Royal Rumble. And oh yeah, you're going to WrestleMania. Like injuries have a way of screwing up long-term story books and storylines that are both long-term get to a goal, but also short-term we need to build. And maybe Ronda's injury is why this looks so out of left field and awkward.
That completely makes sense. That she's hanging him up basically, and because she's hanging him up, she wants to put Shayna over.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of like force this thing. A shame they didn't just put Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez over in like a good feud. But I wonder how long do they think that she's going to be in the WWE? And
the rumored hard out date is not there, but it's apparently a hard out, and it's not going to be all the way till next WrestleMania. So maybe they feud through SummerSlam and a September pay-per-view or early fall. I don't think it lasts till Royal Rumble. I don't think it even lasts maybe to Survivor Series end of November around the Thanksgiving holiday. I think it's going to be taken care of early fall.
And you know, Dom, the reason I would say that this rumor makes sense is we know Ronda Rousey is a legitimate badass and a legitimate athlete, and she just has been so poor in the WWE like the last couple months. I don't think her heart's in it. Like I don't think she's doing what she needs to do to become like a good talent. I mean, Bad Bunny's heart's in it, you know? This guy is a hip hop artist and he's wrestling decent matches and he's not even an athlete. But he does have the stage presence of being a pop star. And then Logan Paul as well. Like you can see he's putting the pieces together. And these are part-timers. So like I don't know if she's going and doing the same things that these guys are doing or people that are should be doing. Like, is she just kind of going out there and winging it? Kind of looks like that sometimes, you know? So
I would miss her as a character, as a persona, because she understands how to be a heel, and she does a lot of cool old school heel things, like
Mm.
mocking her opponents with not only her words but with her gestures. She does that in this match as she's beating down Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan, did the old time baby face in the tag team get your butt kicked, for most of the match, and then try to make the hot tag. Well, Ronda cuts her off at one point, and then as she's near Raquel Rodriguez in Raquel's corner, she turns and does Raquel's pose to her. Like old school heel mocking your opponent stuff.
Right.
Ronda gets that and does that. I've liked her character and her persona. I have not liked her work in the ring. And
Yeah.
maybe she's going to put it all on the line against Shayna Baszler, and she's going to have a great program one-on-one with Shayna that'll last maybe through one or two pay-per-views, and we'll all leave feeling good about the Ronda Rousey era in the WWE. Or maybe it'll be nonsense, and we'll go, oh, okay, now we know why she's leaving. I don't know. I'm always hoping to be positively surprised and to be entertained by what I'm watching. So
Right. We're pulling for Ronda to have a good program.
yeah, we don't want crappy matches.
We have to watch this. So if it sucks, I mean it's kind of fun to joke around a little bit about it sucking, but ultimately I do want it to be good. So we're over the hour mark here, Dom, and I think
You want to do lightning round for the other matches? Because can I rant for a bit before we lightning round here?
Sure.
The three remaining matches we have were given each less time than the John Cena transitioning into Grayson Waller. Whatever this was. They took like 14 minutes of this. For John Cena and Grayson Waller, it was near 15 minutes. I don't. What's going on?
Well,
what's going on?
Luckily,
This match for the Women's Tag Team Championship, 9 minutes. Gunther versus Matt Riddle. Gunther goes over. They're playing up the injury to Matt Riddle's ankle, so it doesn't last that long. That gives Gunther his out there. He wins by submission. 8 minutes. Cody Rhodes versus Dominic Mysterio, somewhere in the 8 to 9 minute range. And even Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor in the 12 to 13 minute mark for a World Heavyweight Championship match. John Cena and Grayson Waller talking got more than any of these matches, almost as much time as the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. What do you think of John Cena and Grayson Waller?
Well, that's what the fast forward button was made for, because I watched it taped and I fast forwarded through that. I did not want to watch it, and
good for you. Good for you. My notes for this are John Cena is here. Why? Takes him forever to get to the point. He wants the WWE to bring WrestleMania to London, which sounds like they're taking a shot at AEW, which is running, Wembley Stadium soon for a big pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
So he's trying to talk up London and the London crowd for WWE events and how great they are. I got to tell you, John Cena is the world's favorite corporate yes man and has been for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
It was his WWE persona morphed into that, and he's been that way as a movie maker, as a movie star, movie actor. I would have booed the crap out of him if I were in this crowd. Just covered him in booze. And then Grayson Waller comes out to make it even better. Now Grayson Waller's talking about, no, they should bring WrestleMania to Australia. No, No, I mean, as a gimmick, maybe, but no, you don't have to bring WrestleMania anywhere. Like, they have to earn it. I don't know why they needed 15 minutes to talk to us about where WrestleMania might go. I mean, yeah, you want to take a shot at AEW? Go ahead, take a shot at AEW. It shouldn't take 15 minutes with two eminently booable people.
Yes.
Rant over whatever. Which of these other three matches did you find anything interesting in that you wanted to talk about? Either the result of the match or something that occurred during the match?
If you want to give the lightning round, because I skipped over anything that was just strictly Raw. So if you want a lightning round, all three. So and I'll let you know.
Money in the Bank played a role in this program, and not just for the latter matches. In the World Heavyweight Championship match between Seth Rollins and Finn Balor, Damian Priest walks out to the ring with his Money in the Bank case right after Finn Balor kicked out of a Seth Rollins pedigree for a 2.5 count. And then Seth, distracted by Damian Priest's presence, almost gets pinned by Finn Balor. So now Damian is taking a seat, unfolds one of those metal chairs, and he's sitting down and watching this match with his newly earned Money in the Bank briefcase with his contract. And this sort of distracts both Seth Rollins and Finn Balor. Now, eventually, Seth wins with a he rolls out of the way of Finn's double stomp from the top turnbuckle and hits his own stomp on the mat, driving the head into the mat. Finn's stomp is that double lands on your chest with his feet as you're prone on the mat. Seth's stomp, of course, is the guy trying to recover and shake off the cobwebs. He's on his hands and knees. And Seth's stomp is 1 foot to the back of the head, driving you face first into the mat. So Seth hits that for the pinfall in about 12 or 13 minutes here. And afterwards, Finn is actually a little miffed at Damian Priest for coming down, because it distracted Finn Balor as well. Like, why are you here? Are you here because if I win this match, you're going to cash in on me? So they're teasing a little more tension in the Judgment Day, but also, Damian Priest, maybe now that he's got this briefcase, he's going to be a thorn in the side of everybody. He'll walk out to any title match and just sit there.
Yeah.
Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But for one match at least, it was good to see them use the briefcase right away. Here comes Damian Priest distracting the world champion and his number one contender.
It's such a cool thing to have, because they can cash in at any time, and they can, drag it out as much as you want. And I think the one that's most memorable is Seth Rollins cashed in on WrestleMania. So he had it for like a year, not almost a year. He had it for like 8 months. And then he loses a match during WrestleMania against Randy Orton.
Okay.
And then he cashes in the Money in the Bank that night and pins Roman Reigns and wins the title in the main event. So it was awesome.
So, wow. Okay. That's a good use of it, right?
Yeah.
Just when you think Seth Rollins is, getting beat and maybe descending the rankings in WWE, he shows up and cashes in.
He was a chicken heel. So he was always losing matches, and he had like the Money in the Bank. So like he lost to Randy Orton, and that made sense. And then like they made him look really weak, and then he cashed in the Money in the Bank and got the title. But anyways, sorry, just wanted to add that about the.
No, that's good, because that explains why Seth was so alert to Damian Priest's presence, because he's been in the opposite shoes there and has done that.
Right. Let's move on to the next match here.
Good bit of psych there. Do you like Cody versus Dominic Mysterio?
This is another one I opted I just was like, this is Raw. I don't really know these guys. But I do know Dominic and Cody. I probably should have watched this one, but I didn't.
This is filler, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know.
This looks like there's no way this is this is a stepping stone for Cody. Dominic's not going to win, so it's not a stepping stone for him. This looks like it was, well, who's our top baby face who gets the most cheers? Well, it's Cody Rhodes. Who's our top heel who gets the most full-throated heel heat? Well, it's Dominic Mysterio. Why don't we kind of put these two guys in a program for a month or so on cruise control? Right. And it was good TV on Raw from what I could see from the clips that I watched. I'm not able to watch. I'm a cord cutter. I'm not able to watch Raw on USA as it airs live. So it looked like it was working as TV segments. They gave it 8 to 9 minutes here, so maybe that was enough to get it onto the pay-per-view, but not enough where it would wear out its welcome. Dominic looks good in the ring. He can wrestle. Cody, of course, beats him. On some occasions, beats him in a sense handily. Like at one point, Dominic's going for the Three Amigos sequence of suplexes. He hits the first, he hits the second, and then he goes for the third, and Cody just breaks it up and hits him with a vertical face plant. So, Cody Rhodes is definitely on a level above Dominic Mysterio because Cody can basically be beaten down, take 2 suplexes, and then just no-sell it and face-plant the guy. You're getting all sorts of sing-songy Cody Rhodes chants, but in a positive sense from the London crowd, instead of the negative connotation that they did for Roman Reigns. Cody winds up stopping a 619 and then does kind of a neat move here. He's got Dominic kind of underhook with the arms. He does an airplane spin that way into an Alabama slam. Then his Cody cutter, then his crossroads. So it becomes 5 moves of Doomy at the end here. But, for an 8 to 9 minute match, okay. Yeah, okay. And then they put John Cena and Grayson Waller on it right afterwards, which made it look even better compared to that train wreck. But all right, those were Raw guys. They did their part.
And then the last one here is it Gunther?
Gunther, Matt Riddle, who are now unfortunately Raw guys because we like Gunther. Yeah. What do you think of this Gunther match?
Again, I saw the results, but I did not watch it. So
okay, I have been underwhelmed by both pay-per-view matches I've seen from Gunther since he got drafted over to Raw.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The Mustafa Ali one was almost expected because he was just there for the hometown Saudi Arabia crowd. His character, his persona is Arab from the Middle East. I don't know in real life if the man who plays Mustafa Ali is that. But he was there for that, so it was kind of squashy. This match also looks kind of squashy. I mean, Matt Riddle's got an injury that they've been selling. Whether it's real or not, they've been selling that he's got almost an injured ankle. Maybe it's a hairline fracture or whatever, but he's got it heavily taped. I mean, Gunther does the heel stuff in this match. He's going after his left ankle, tries to remove some of the athletic tape for a while to remove some of that padding and support. He applies a leg bar. He goes, eventually winds up in another kind of, I don't know if it was an ankle lock or whatever. It wasn't applied the way like Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey do the ankle lock. It was applied almost more like a leg bar. But yeah, he's going after that ankle that's hurt and Riddle taps to it. Takes 8 to 9 minutes. Gunther put on better matches on SmackDown.
Right. Yeah.
Which was great for us as SmackDown viewers. Gunther put on better matches on free TV when he was on SmackDown on Friday nights.
He's a guy you give a lot of time to because he wrestles awesome matches.
Yeah.
He can pretty much carry a show. Putting him on for 9 minutes in a squash is a little goofy. It sounds like they needed to cut one of the matches.
Maybe.
And just, one of them didn't, or even the segment, or even the talking segment, have it go a couple minutes. Yeah. Don't have it go 15 minutes.
7 matches is a lot for a pay-per-view, right? We've seen Survivor Series was 5 because it had 2 gimmick matches that took a while. Uh-huh. Well, this has 2 gimmick matches that take a while.
Yeah.
Plus a main event you're giving a lot of time to. How about 5? Royal Rumble was 5 because it had 2 gimmick matches that took a while. 5.
Mm-hmm.
Other pay-per-views are in that 5 range. Elimination Chamber, I think, was 5 with the 2 gimmick matches. This could have been 5.
Yeah. I think you could have cut one of them. But it is kind of what it is. It's one of these things too now, because they didn't used to have women's Money in the Bank ladder matches, but now they have a men's and a women's, but they're both good.
Yeah.
But they never did it before, so now they're probably like trying to figure out. I mean, really, you could just do the 2 Money in the Bank and then 2 matches, and I don't think anybody would complain. 2, 3 matches.
Follow the formula for the others. They never used to have women's Survivor Series. Now they do. Never used to have women's Royal Rumble. Now they do.
Yeah.
Never used to have women's Elimination Chamber. Now they do. Got
Yeah.
women's Money in the Bank. Maybe they just wanted to give a ton of stuff to the London crowd, like a bunch of matches, and to keep it moving match to match. But were there matches here that did not feel like pay-per-view quality matches?
Yeah, I mean, when you have that many, you're going to get some not duds, but like you're going to get some matches that feel like, man, this could have been on SmackDown or Raw as the main event. And just, hey, the Cody versus Dom, that could have been a main event.
Put that on Raw.
Put it on Raw and have it be the main event, because you have plenty. You already have plenty. I mean, it's a good thing to have, but they have plenty on the show.
Yep.
But yeah. All right, Dom. So what did you think overall of the Money in the Bank pay-per-view?
I think it was an above average score for me as far as enjoying the pay-per-view, because there was more good than bad. And the things that were good were the things that they had marketed the most. It's Money in the Bank. So the Money in the Bank matches were good.
Right.
Yeah. Your main event with your number one story that's been going on for a long time here, that you gave the most time to, that was good. Yeah. And the things that were bad things that were iffy for me, I won't say bad, because nothing was terrible. Nothing was unwatchable except for Cena, Grayson Waller. But as far as the matches go that were iffy, they were the shortest ones. Okay. It's like watching an extended Monday Night Raw for some of them, but okay. So I'm going to say above average overall. It was okay.
Yep.
The stuff that was supposed to be good was good. The stuff that was not supposed to be good was all right, but it wasn't supposed to be good, so whatever.
Yeah. It's a good point. All the stuff we wanted to be good, the 2 Money in the Bank and the main event, were good. I love the main event. I really like the main event a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was just in a good mood, or if I was just, I don't know. Maybe because I was fast forwarding through all the other crap. That's really what it was. I fast forwarded all those like throwaway matches and went right to the main, and it was a big long main event. I was like, all right, cool. I'm not all worn out because I'm not watching it live. So maybe that's part of the reason I like the main event so much. But yeah, overall, all this, the main event stuff was good. And then there's the other stuff that I just didn't watch. So, we're kind of doing the Italian goodbye here. Any cheap heat you want to talk about?
A little bit on, I learned a little something about WWE music for their wrestlers. And it told me something more about these guys' abilities outside of the wrestling ring. Apparently, LA Knight is involved in music production and has done his entrance music and other promotions, and had a hand in making suggestions for his WWE music. Because WWE music is very well crafted, in-house. They take a lot of time with it. It's important to them. I didn't know LA Knight had that artistic flair to him as a musician. Karrion Kross, same way. And Scarlett apparently has training in arts and performance, which I did not know. What a neat thing to learn.
Yeah,
that Scarlett was an arts major, and that she and Karrion Kross, they're into this theatrical stuff, and they have these abilities. They have the musical abilities, the acting abilities. Maybe it's a little over the top for pro wrestling, which that's a strange thing to say. Like, oh, this is a little too over the top here for pro wrestling. But these people, they're skilled people.
Yeah. Um,
You
I'll
just
have,
need things to learn about these pro wrestlers. You don't think about that, but
and in that article, because I read it as well, for the cheap heat here, I thought it was pretty interesting that Triple H is really heavily involved in carrying Cross's thing.
yeah,
Like carrying Cross just gives them colors and ideas, and then Triple H kind of molds it and fix and adjusts it. So he just gives him colors, which is an interesting. Like, oh, I like black and white stuff. So it's like, okay, we'll give you all this black and white stuff. It's a goofy gimmick. We make fun of it a lot, but it's not terrible. There's something about it. It's not like Bray Wyatt where I'm like turning the TV off, but it is like very odd. Some of the stuff like with the card and all that. But
yes,
interesting to see LA Knight too, but it kind of makes sense. I mean, even if we want to talk about the indies here, uh, new New Jersey Championship Wrestling, half the guys were musicians because it does like it is live performance. They're two different types of live performance, right? So
hmm
you are going to have people blend back and forth. I know there's like some death metal guy, and then he also does like trash hardcore wrestling stuff, and he bleeds all over the place, and he plays bass for like a death metal band. So like I know there's one of those guys floating around the indies. So I've I think it's would be something it's not so like I think there's transferable skills. Let's just say.
yes. And one more cheap heat on the subject of transferable skills. It was a fantastic local South Jersey track and field star and football player. Um, he set Atlantic County records in the shot put, was all state as a high school football player. He played quarterback, eventually played for the Denver Broncos after University of Maryland. Got into a few games for years, was on the roster for 3 years, played a year for Canadian football. By that time, he was up to 280 pounds playing defensive line. Eventually, makes his way to ECW and the WWE. Passed away this week, Darren Drozdov.
Oh yeah,
From Mays Landing, Oakcrest football, Oakcrest track and field star for a while.
I did see that.
Legit pro athlete. Best remembered, unfortunately, for an accident he had in the ring, where he winds up being paralyzed after taking a running power bomb from D'Lo Brown. Um, it really was just an accident. I read that maybe the problem was that Draws, as his ring name was wearing a sort of a loose fitting T-shirt as part of his ring attire. And so it made it difficult to get a proper grip on a move like that. And so he just was not able to get in the right position to take that move. He never, at least publicly, never blamed D'Lo Brown for the injury, even though it wound up paralyzing Draws. He's in a wheelchair the rest of his life. This is going on 25 years now, almost. But yeah, he passes away at age 54. I'm not sure if it was complications from the injury, although, when your central nervous system is damaged, that's a comorbidity for anything the rest of your life. So sad news for Darren Drozdov, but we remember someone who was a real legitimate professional athlete, a guy who was multi-talented as an athlete, and who was memorable in the ring, even though his career was rather short.
Yeah, and well said, Dom. And I'll tell you what, I only good things you've really heard about him specifically, and how positive he's been throughout. That life changing event. He kept a level of positivity, and he's been he's a class act. He just took it like, oh yeah, it's not his fault. Like it just happened, and that's definitely like the best way to look at it. Like it was just an accident. Like that just happens in life. It wasn't
Mhm.
like D'Lo Brown's fault or something. Like that's just life, right? It just happens sometimes. So I think it's a good way to think of it. And
It's
yeah.
your reminder that pro wrestling is real.
Hmm.
There are real professional athletes who participate in this. What they do is physical. It takes dexterity. It takes constitution. It takes toughness, and there are risks involved. Pro wrestling is real.
Yeah.
Darren Drozdov, he was real too. And unfortunately, in that incident, it got a little too sobering and too real. But yeah, like you're saying, he didn't get bitter the rest of his life. He was a good ambassador for pro wrestling. He's tried to keep involved with WWE from a business standpoint, from what I heard. Although obviously he couldn't appear on screen and do much, but I heard he was at least connected to the company, so there was no, at least not significant bitterness there. I mean, everybody has regrets. I'm sure he looks back and wishes it could have been different. But
Yeah.
Darren Drozdov, he was, like you said, he was a class act in a difficult situation. It was not only a difficult professional situation, but a difficult rest of your life situation.
For sure. All right, Dom. I think on that note, I think we can start to mosey on down here. So
Long pay-per-view, long don't bury the lead.
yeah. You know, thanks so much for watching, guys. We appreciate it. Gonna keep the ball rolling here. We're getting close to 100 subscribers on YouTube. So if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, do it now because we need to get to 100.
There you go.
Because
That's
that is
our
our
goal.
goal for 2023 is to get 100 subscribers. So,
There you go.
um, we're going to keep pumping the shorts out. They've been doing a lot better than usual, the shorts. Going to keep posting some videos here. We're going to finish up the Who Would Win in a Real Fight series, and then going to start making some videos, kind of what we were doing before, just little highlights from Don't Bury the Lead. So, yeah.
A lot
Dom?
on your plate, John. A lot on your plate, but it's good. People seem to like it.
Yeah. So, Dom, thanks so much for joining. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.